Hello and welcome to Hammering the Point, a Warhammer podcast. I am your war boss, Toon Smasher, here with my co-hosts,
Electro Priest Jack,
the Commissar.
In today's topic, we're going to be talking about the Astra Militarum, or more commonly known as the Imperial Guardsmen, because changing names is a thing.
Well, you know, trademarks.
Apparently. The Astra Militarum is the High Gothic name, and the Imperial Guardsmen is the Low Gothic. So that's why there's difference.
But we'll be talking about them and the vast majority of so the Imperial Guardsmen are also known as the Hammer of the Emperor, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit. And as Electro Priest said, Cadia stands. We'll talk a little bit about that because Cadians they love their planet. Even though it went kablooey.
Yeah, even though it's not a planet anymore.
Oh, actually, it is.
Is it half a planet still?
No, there's a new Cadia.
Yeah, the new the new Cadia. But we're already into it. Might as well just start with it.
Let's start at least with the origins of the Imperial Guardsmen before we go right into
the deepest lore there is.
You know what? Fair enough.
The Catachan jungle warriors.
So the Imperial Guardsman goes up into there's several different categories of guardsmen. Like as you've just heard, there's the Cadians, the Catachans, regiments. Thank you.
That's the word, regiments.
The regiments of the Imperial Guardsmen are Cadians. Cadians, who their kind of fighting style.
The Cadians are just like your general soldier.
They're most literally the throw them
expansive
at the wall
of the Imperial Guardsmen, and they're like some of the best trained Imperial Guardsmen. So that's why they're like the poster child of the Imperial Guardsmen, is because there's so many of them, and they do a decent enough job at being an Imperial Guardsman.
Boys, right? They're in blue and white camo.
No, they're literally like
Cadians are green and
they're green and tan.
And then
also within each Imperial Guardsman regiment, the Cadians are broke up into multiple different regiments that specialize in various things.
Right, it's different branches.
So the Cadians are like the jack of all trades guardsmen.
Nice.
And then there are specialized. Basically, then there's the specialized Imperial Guardsmen who have broken off, that have developed on their own planets. And
the ones that have psyker abilities, the ones who snipe really well.
There hasn't been a regiment with strictly psychers. Each regiment has their own psychers.
That's good for them.
And there's variant degrees of trust between them, but the Catachans are really good at jungle warfare.
Shocker.
The Valhallan Ice Warriors are really good at winter warfare and stuff like that. So,
after
I was switching our power over on the computer, the screen went blank for a second, and I'm like, no, thank you. Even in regiments, you can't forget my boys in the Death Corps of Krieg.
Well, no. I was going to mention them. That's right.
So as you know, each Imperial Guardsman, they have their own regiments. We all know that, and basically, what the Imperial Guardsmen are, they're just lonely humans. They are the most numerous, so they are often the ones who just are sent out to fight pretty much all the wars.
Yeah, they
and only in rare occasions when Space Marines actually get involved. Usually, most wars are won and lost
because they fight
Imperial
mankind's
Guards.
Greatest battles.
Well, yeah, they're the most numerous army in the Imperium of mankind, so they're the ones who take the brunt of everything.
Which makes
because they're able to just constantly send soldier after soldier after fucking soldier.
When you got trillions of people to work with.
Well, yeah, and it got the amount of Imperial Guardsmen that have existed and exists are so many that even the Militarum can't count them all.
No, you could not.
And we don't even know which ones are still alive and which ones are dead.
We don't have that kind
because
of
it's just...
So real quick, since the Commissar mentioned the Militarum, I just want to say this for people who don't really know. It's the Department Militarum. They are the ones that help take care, not care.
Their supply chains.
Exactly, the supply chains. They're the ones that say these soldiers need to go here. They go to different planets and say, hey, we require 500,000 soldiers in this X amount of time,
which
as
is
your
a ridiculous job
payment,
to have when
or they'll
the paperwork
take
stacks are as tall as buildings.
Well, yeah,
exactly, because they'll even take like supplies and stuff too to build and send to Forge Worlds, which we'll get.
They're
into that a
the
little bit later.
backbone. They're the bureaucracy and the backbone of the Imperium when it comes to supply chains.
Yeah, it's the
Join the Imperial Guardsmen today. That's
the
them.
military government complex.
Well, yeah,
Basically,
they're-
they're a bureaucracy.
Their bureaucracy, they handle not only day-to-day civilian life, they also handle day-to-day guardsman life.
Yeah, because it's like
Yeah.
general staff. They also monitor the tithies and everything because families.
From your highest up guy to your lowliest janitor.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
Exactly.
you get your pay from the Minotaurum. You get pretty much. If you need something, either go to the back alleys of a hive world or go to the Minotaurum because you're probably going to find it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they also they keep track, basically, if your family has generations of soldiers going through, of boys and girls, they'll even keep in tally and be like, your family owes us this much.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Great.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, they literally have it down to everything.
That's terrifying.
It is pretty terrifying.
I bet they learned it from the Mechanicus.
Well, yeah, they were some of the first ones that went in to talk to the Mechanicum, weren't they?
I have no idea,
I don't
but
know.
that would be smart of them to do. Go talk to the walking calculators to steal everyone's money back.
So kind of like the hierarchy of this whole system, it goes the Adeptus Ministrarum, the Adeptus Militarum, then there's the Officio Perfecta, there's the Militarum Venento. I can't say most of these Latin words, so I apologize. Then there's the Militarum Ordinatus, Militarum Exilia, Militarum Tempestus, and Militarum Regimento.
And we won't go into all of those in
Militarum
detail.
So that's
but-
basically how like the structure goes when it comes to all this. So like the Adeptus, the Adeptus Ministarum is basically the people who control the everything, like the day to day, like
they're the guys
supplies,
with the
whether
map.
who gets what, and it's like in the military, our military, because we have supply officers, and you just fill out a form, and then you get that specific thing.
Yeah.
But imagine just on a galaxy-wide whole thing, that's what they do. The
'cause they travel planet to
Officio Perfecta is, I think that's the Commissars. Yeah, that's the Commissars. So basically, the Commissars are people who keep the morale up of the guards.
Oh,
And they get sent to their own planet. Too. Is
They-
it a planet or is it a specific
It's-
training?
well, It's kind of like a regiment to regiment kind of thing.
everyone has their own special
Pretty much, because there's
rituals.
multiple different schools that you can go to become a Commissar.
okay.
And I wonder if you get to pick which one, or if they just have like a thing.
I think
that
it's just
picks
whatever's
whatever's
within
best.
A
your
lot of times
region.
it ends up being because of a family thing.
that's that makes sense. It would be,
And
because
also
of a
depends on
family
what
thing.
planet, because in the book, what was it? It follows a Commissar. I have it on my Audible account. Let me quickly look that up.
Get into the deep lore.
Deep lore of it.
It is the honor bound. It goes into deep detail about like how specifically Rain, the character, becomes a commissar, and she went to a specific class because her parents were officers in the Imperial Guardsmen. Usually, they always try to take from like high up people when it comes to commissars
Because they want to keep it as a tradition thing.
Well, yeah,
right?
basically, like even though commissars aren't technically allowed to have families. But there are occasionally canoodles in the trenches between commissars and other people, and vice versa.
Well, I mean, even the Sisters of Battle.
Well,
has
Sisters of Battle
fidelity.
are sterile.
Well, they are, but they still have relations
Well,
and stuff.
kind
but
of. That is way more heavily frowned upon.
It is way more heavily frowned
Like-
upon, but it's just like with that, people will still always break it.
Well, yeah, but like it's like there's a reason why they're considered uncorruptible. It's because they hold so tight to these like beliefs they have. But yeah, no, the commissars act as judge, jury, and executioner for the Imperial Guardsmen.
Oh, top of the military police.
Pretty much,
Great.
like
Yeah, 'cause
they
they lead all the
have,
squads.
Well, yeah, they lead specific. Well, there's multiple in each regiment. They don't necessarily lead squads because that's what captains and sergeants and lieutenants and all of them are for. They are just there. They're attached to the regiment, and they are there to keep morale up. So if people start flipping out and like panicking, they will summarily execute somebody, and they want the guardsmen to be more afraid of the commissars than they are of the enemy. Because if you have somebody who's willing to blow the top of your head off with a las gun,
at any given fucking moment,
that will give you a reason to continue to fight. It's kind of like what the Soviets did in World War II. They would have an officer there that will just they will just blow you away because you ran. So
now I'm not.
Fear really does work, especially when you're in missed battle. And I mean, hell, if you really think about it, being a guardsman in the vast galaxy of Warhammer, you really don't know what you're fighting. And if like take the Tyranids for example, you have a giant just hive running at you, and you're terrified. But to be more terrified of the guy standing behind you, willing to blow your head off, than that army coming at you, requires a lot of power. And honestly, like mentioning the schooling, that's just ridiculous to be able to hold like that stature over your squad while you're in battle, but then outside still be willing to be like, hey, I'm gonna work with you.
Yeah, pretty much.
As long as you're doing it for me and mine, brother.
So yeah, that's basically what the commissars do. They're like, okay, I'll rule you with an iron fist because I need you to do your job.
They're the ultimate daddy. Next to,
though it is kind of funny watching a commissar kind of go with the death corpse of Krieg.
Well, yeah, because we'll get more into that detail, but like with each Imperial Guardsman, their commissars in a sense work differently, because there are certain Imperial Guardsman regiments that just don't need commissars, like the Catachans.
Nice.
They don't like them. They don't need them.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to fighting in a specific way that commissars will slow them down.
And they just literally get in the way.
Yeah.
Is there a whole book about that? That sounds like there's a whole book.
Yeah, there's
about
a
that.
short story actually that follows a Catachan group that have to deal with a commissar, and they just do not like the commissar.
Like, sir, if we didn't have to sir you, we'd slit your throat.
Pretty much. But the Imperial Guard command hierarchy is it goes from a Lord General Militant, then it's the General Staff. Okay. So they're the ones who kind of like take care of day-to-day stuff. That will also include such as a Lord Marshal, a Captain General, a Lord Castellan, and it will also be supported by staff officers and various other generals and lieutenants. And then it goes down to regimental commanders. So like people who are the commander of the 101st or the 1st company or the 2nd company of the specific group of Cadians or other guards. And then there's the company commanders who listen to the regimental commanders. So you have the company commanders who will be like, I'm captain of 1st company, but he's subservient to the regimental commanders. Oh, okay. And depending on what kind of guardsman, that will change.
They're your area supervisor.
Pretty much.
Because also, too, like one commissar can't really walk up to another squad and then just start demanding shit without their...
They can because they have a special rank.
It's like a petitionary thing, yeah.
It's...
Well, right, but aren't the squads also sanctioned to be like, hey, unless your commissar says something about this, don't listen to anyone else?
No.
No?
So the commissars have a special rank, and they're outside of the rank and file of normal Imperial Guardsmen. So that basically just means that, like, at any point, a commissar can come up to any Imperial Guardsman, and they just go, do this. And if they don't,
you get
root, tootin', pointing, shooting.
Yeah. They're the ones who are in all...
That's why in the Gaunt's Ghost series, Commissar Gaunt gets the special rank as, I think he's Lieutenant Commander Gaunt, and now he's a part of the Imperial Guardsman Regiment, so he has to be subservient to the commanders. But he's also a commissar, which means he's also outside of that thing. So it's kind of weird. But he controls a regiment, which is extremely rare for what do you call it? Commissars.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, they're meant to be outside of that because they're outside observers. They're the ones who keep everybody in the Imperial Guardsmen, no matter the tippy top or the lowest rank.
Bad reference.
They are there to make sure that everybody does their job.
Is this like the Spectres in Mass Effect?
I mean, I guess I don't know what a Spectre is because I have never played Mass Effect.
They're like the council's the overall government, and the Spectres work outside the law in order to make sure that the government
basically
upholds its power.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
They're
simplification.
Yeah, so they're literally there just to basically say, hey, this is the rule that this guy says.
Yeah.
And they technically do have the power to walk up to a Lord General Militant and just execute them.
Yeah, because you just assume they know more than you.
Well, yeah, but like they're there to keep up morale. And if the Lord
keep the heresy away.
If the commanding officers are the ones who are being cowardice, they will take control and kill the. I know that we're just jumping around here, and it is
I know. I'm just looking.
But so that's pretty much what the commissars do. They're special rank. They're there to make sure everything is tippy top and clean and everything. So yeah, and then there's the.
Because they're the ones that also receive all the orders in for the squads to go and
handle
out, right? Or is that the lieutenant above them?
Talk about how all of this led to the fall of Cadia. The people want to know.
Do the people want to know? Do the people want to know?
I don't know. I just feel like we could go into semantics all day about their friggin' regimental leadership order.
Well, yeah, pretty much
the wrong book.
Lord Militant General gets to say, tells orders, it goes down through the general staff, and that is then that is kind of filtered through to basically be like, okay, well, like, don't tell them that the Lord Militant General called them a bunch of fuckwits. Let's filter that out and get down to that, and then that goes down to the regimental commanders, and then the regimental commander shoots it off to the company commanders. And like there's twists on each like Imperial Guardsman regiment naturally because there's so many different versions of them that not every single form of it will work well with every other groups. So you have to kind of like figure it out on their own. So yeah, but usually it's the big guy on the very top who disseminates the orders to everybody else.
Okay.
And the guard and the commissars, their entire thing is to make sure that A, that thing is being followed, and B, morale and everything else and heresy is rooted out. They're there to basically make sure that Jim Bob the Fifth.
So they're like the librarians, but for the Astra Militarum.
Basically.
I love that. That's a good comparison.
They're basically just be like, okay, this is what we do. This is what Dickhead wants you to do.
Yeah, that's awful.
That's why people don't like them.
They're better at it than the friggin' librarians, though.
Well, you're thinking of the chaplains, not the librarians.
Chaplains, thank you.
But yeah, no, pretty much they're just there to be. We're here to do this job.
They're enforcing everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They make sure that morale is up. They make sure that like no corruption happens. That's the point of this.
Just keeping everyone in line and making sure they're shooting their shot.
That's pretty much it. But
man, this new book looks great. I will say.
I do love the 9th edition.
You should look.
I will get
the 9th edition codex is really good, which I've actually scored a few codexes lately to kind of help with some of this research and
yeah, no. If you guys haven't seen I'd encourage you to all look it up as you're listening to this. The Codex Astra Militarum. It is like artwork, and they made it really like fun to read. They're like, oh, if you want to look at the tank classes, you're the tank ace, and like blah blah blah. It's very role play oriented because they know we're nerds.
Well, yeah, the codexes are also what you really look into for when you're playing tabletop.
Yeah, well, of course, which, you know, that's an expensive hobby. Good luck.
It is, which I'm not going to lie. I'm going to switch myself over to Etsy for models.
Yeah, don't be afraid, people. Don't be afraid to use 3D printers. Not unless
we love Games Workshop, but at the same time, ouch.
Yeah, especially if you're going with the orcs or the Astra Militarum, because then you're just buying handfuls of models.
And
Still fun though.
It's fun. It's amazing. They're really high quality.
but yeah,
But much like video games, they need to stay the same price. The technology has gotten easier, not harder. Sorry,
second that.
ranting. Anyways,
No, I feel that they really do.
what was the
Stopping
other
myself now before I
thing? Right
full
before
on
we
go
go
about
like
it,
political about it. What
For
are like war hero runes important? I'm seeing a lot of.
that's just a game thing.
I thought that
That's
was the
just
games
for the
thing.
I don't know
tabletop.
anything about that. That's 9th edition
That-
stuff, and I haven't read anything about 9th edition.
Humble las gun. It's not humble.
It is comparatively to other things, but yeah, no. Your typical guardsman. Well, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, you call the las gun a flashlight.
Yeah,
So that's what their, by the way, what their standard issue weapon is considered in the military a flashlight.
Which is funny because in the booklet that they're given, it's explained that the weapons themselves will be able to penetrate anything, and with your trusty lasgun at your side, you can kill them all through
And then
anything.
they see a friggin'
Even
Tyranid.
though- exactly, like when they go to actually fight with it, it's a fucking flashlight. It's a little dainty little piece of shit. It don't compare to the shooter.
It's
but
like a marker
it's
for where the
just-
artillery is supposed to strike.
like the more shots that are fired, it'll still work. It's just out of 100 shots, I'd rather have a weapon.
well, you
that'll
also have
hit
to take
10
in
than
consideration
100.
that like the reason why like
it's
so-
very mass produced.
the entire point of the Imperial Guardsmen is to get bodies out,
Yeah, which is
Oh, yeah.
and that's why their armor and their weapons aren't the best made outside of like a very few select regimental groups like the Tempestus
But everything's
Scions.
trying to kill you, and you've got bodies, but not materials. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of have to do the supply and demand.
And
math.
like there's also so basically they're like poorly some of them are very poorly like supplied, but like the entire point of the Imperial Guardsmen is to get bodies out there. So like yeah, their rifle kind of sucks, but there's 100 people shooting at you at once with that crappy rifle
it's
that
gonna do
builds
some-
up.
Yeah, it does build
Oh,
up.
it does
too.
build up. And
Especially when you have artillery commissar.
Oh yeah,
well, yeah, because everything they do because with
it depends on the regiment.
With wanting to throw the bodies out there, of course they have them running aside, but they're going to have all the artillery, the tanks,
Right.
Because
Yeah, their number.
how's your
There's
enemy
swarm
really going to
war.
fight or fly when there's just las fire everywhere on the ground, and then you have nothing but just shells and shells of artillery just blocking the sky? Like, it's pure numbers in everything, especially like bodies, but throwing out all the tanks, and then of course you have your like turret guns and all that, but blocking out the sky and land with
It's
fire
literally your-
is ridiculous.
Your
Like, I
best
don't care who the
defense
enemy
a good
is.
offense.
Pretty much.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
they just want to dive through.
The good old World War II blitzkrieg.
Well, kind of. It's weird because like the Imperial Guardsmen, they take like references from like actual history, like
That's good.
the Death Corps of Krieg. They are based around World War II and World War I German and trench warfare and everything. A lot of them do take like from real world like counterparts, like the Vastoran Firstborns. They look
As
like
good literature does.
Russians. So does the Valhalla Ice Warriors. They also look like Russians. The Katachans look like Vietnam era
Oh, yeah, I
Marines.
forgot about that. They're all Rambo.
Because how well they fight in the jungle.
And so yeah, you get all these other groups. But yeah, no, the Imperial Guardsmen, their entire point is bodies on the ground. They're not like too specially trained.
Yeah, they're
they're
get down
just-
there, see what's going on.
Pretty much, they
assess
just
the situation.
throw it. And then there are
And then just hit it.
specialized
Yeah.
guardsmen like the Kriegs who specializes in artillery and trench warfare. There's the Katachans who are specialized in jungle. The Vastoran Firstborns and the Ice Warriors, Valhalla Ice Warriors, are Arctic style fighters because they wear big, thick wool coats and
Yeah,
everything.
you guys remember the opening game of Modern Warfare 2? Maybe that was the second mission. Sorry.
And then there's the what are they called? The Italian Desert Raiders, which are
right.
based off of
The Ottoman Empire.
Lawrence and his raiders in World War II, or was it
That was
one?
one.
Because they're the ones on Necromundos.
Lawrence of Arabia.
No, those are the Necromunda spiders. Lawrence, the
okay.
Desert Raiders they specialize in
Yeah, gosh.
raiding in deserts. They're desert fighters, so they believe in hitting.
Oh, bro, now that you've got an Xbox One, by the way, Commissar, anybody else out there with an Xbox, anything, you've got to play Battlefield 1. It's so good.
It's not bad. I prefer Hell Let Loose.
I mean, that's fair. Anything with Call of Duty.
Hell Let
please.
Loose was really fun. It was terrifying.
Anyways, back to the Astra Militarum.
But you get the Imperial Guards, and then you break them up into specialties. So like you will have a specific group of well, they're not really Imperial Guards, but they're the Planet Defense Force, or the PDF, and they are your like planet to planet base soldiers that they can throw out first. And while the Imperial Guardsmen or the Space Marines are on their way, and every planet has a PDF, they're usually just like weekend warriors, so to speak.
Like they just take a certain percentage of the population.
Pretty much,
for that, right?
and like their officers are like the ones who like are full time usually, and like they have like a full time PDF group, but like most of them like. It's a lot like our National Guard.
I was just about to say, it's like the National Guard. They just kind of get called in.
You
like,
get
hey,
a
you get the
group
call,
of people who are a
running in.
part of it constantly, but the rest of them are like weekend people. Like, oh, you need to go over here and train for a week, and you need to become Rough Riders there for a bit. And that's what the PDF does. So, like, usually when a planet gets attacked, it's usually the PDF ramps up its recruitment.
Men,
and then they have them fight while the Imperial Guardsmen come in. And then the Imperial Guardsmen and the PDF will join together, and they will fight together, and they will also do all that other stuff. Also, pause that shit, because I need to take a piss.
And this is a good time for our break to go on through. We hope you all enjoy it. Take her easy. I'd like to take this moment to give you all a quick little friendly war in our time. Thank you. Hello again from that little break. We hope you all enjoyed it. Maybe got you a snack and a drink. I don't fucking care. I don't know. That's what I meant to say. No, I don't care.
Nah,
But
we care so much.
we do care. I hope you got yourself something nice. Because you deserve it. You fucking heretic.
Steal from local Walmart. I'm kidding. We don't promote crime. So welcome back
You'll
to
get
the
shot
Astro.
for stealing. The commissar will shoot you.
The Commissar will shoot you.
I got a las pistol in the other room you could use.
Where did we leave off in those last 5 to 10 seconds?
We really just went off the fucking
Off the
script,
rails.
didn't we?
We did, which is fine. We'll clean it up.
Because we went right into the commissars, and then that was about it.
As soon as we started
Well,
talking
no,
about
that's right.
commissars, the commissar went
We were
off.
talking about the different regiment kinds. We were talking about the different like battle tactics that were best for each of the regiments. Is there anything else we wanted to add on like the lore besides? I mean, we went through all the big ones, which were the Death Corps, the Catachan, and the.
We'll actually like get into different regiments and
Later
probably
on.
different episodes because I believe certain ones will need like their own episodes. Like, not gonna lie, I love the Death Corps, and as much as we've like talked about them, we haven't really actually talked about them because their home planet itself got fucked up. And they basically, long story short, their own civil war with a nuclear consequence shoved them underground, and then they started living that way, and use the nuclear wasteland up above as like training grounds and shit like that.
Oh.
So that's just a piece of the pie. But because, in my opinion, each regiment really can be delved into. This is just the Militarum itself.
Yeah,
is
this
kind
is
of like
just
a
the
whole
general knowledge of the Imperial Guardsmen kind of episode, which we've been all over.
Yeah.
And we apologize for that because it's been fucking 8 months since we've done this last, so we
Yeah.
apologize if this episode feels like all over the place. And
I'm
if
sure
you
we
guys
can
want, we can
revisit
always
again.
revisit it and actually be on point.
We can hammer that point. Oh, the disappointment.
I'm just looking at the script. This is the wrong one. We talked about their equipment, their ranks, what are they trying to accomplish. We talked about that. Well, here's a good one. What do they think about following the Emperor? What do they think about our holy god?
Well, honestly, they do everything for their regiment, especially the Cadians. But like everything is for the Emperor. They're out there to fight, to make sure humanity is thriving. So they always try to put out like the Emperor's will. I mean, they're literally called the Emperor's hammer.
So they just believe he's a god.
They're
like
basically, they view them as a god, but you have to take in consideration that these people grew up in an environment where they are constantly being told that this guy is their god, and this guy is like
they're normal humans. They're gonna believe the propaganda.
So
exactly, that's what.
Yeah, that's I figured as much.
They're just fully normal humans that get sent out to war.
And how often do these people succumb to heresy?
Well, since they're like basic nondescript humans, like they are quite easily.
Are we talking like a 50-50 ratio?
No, more,
yes and no. Because like there are noticeable chaos regiments. Like the Sons of Sek and the Blood Pact. Those are noticeable Imperial Guardsmen regiments who have turned chaos. But since they're normal humans, they have the same chance as any other normal person to become chaos corrupted or turn away from the Emperor. And that's one of the reasons why the Commissars exist, is because they keep that faith in the Guardsmen, so they don't have to worry about it.
We don't even have to know the real numbers. The Guardsmen make sure.
Oh no, there's no number on the Guardsmen. Since there is millions upon millions of humans fighting out there, they don't know the numbers of shit. They know the accounts of everything, but they don't actually count them.
So we don't have how many turned.
Yeah.
That's awful. That would be so terrifying.
There's a reason why there's the noticeable Imperial Guardsmen, Chaos Guardsmen, which showed up in a great book series called Gaunt's Ghosts. They primarily fight the Sons of Sek and the Blood Pact in those books, and they go much more deeper info on them. But the Blood Pact are chaos. They're specifically corn worshippers.
Oh, of course.
And they're all ex-guardsmen, and they even have their own commissars within those ranks. But
keep the cord. If you go to Nurgle, we'll shoot you in the head.
We'll cover them another time, since we're talking about Imperial Guardsmen right now, not the Chaos Guardsmen.
True.
But we don't know the exact number of how many guardsmen actively get chaos corrupted or turn side.
Well, that's
you could probably figure like maybe hundreds of thousands.
It's a splash in the barrel when it comes to the amount.
Well, that's good at least.
Because honestly, the average lifespan of a guardsman is estimated about 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 2 days.
It's way less than that.
Yeah,
it's like a minute
hours.
or so.
A minute.
Yeah.
I mean, like a full, like getting out there.
Yeah, he means the average, but I think
running.
that is apparently the average. I don't know. We'll have to look it up.
It should say in the Codex.
God, the average lifespan of an Astra Militarum.
Because I want to say it's about 24 hours.
15 hours.
15 hours?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hey, at least you got half a day in. You better pray hard and think about what that half a day means to you.
Because there are some veteran guardsmen out there. There is a good percentage of them out there.
Statistically, there would be.
But
the amount of bodies that are like being tossed, of course, there's going to be people who are going to manage to scave out without too much.
Just by luck. Just by statistics.
Yeah,
that many numbers.
But that's the Imperial Guardsman way. So what were you going to ask before?
Oh, I just don't think there's anything else to... I mean, I'm reading here. We burned through the whole script. I know we just took a short break, but we went over every topic.
Well, that's just kind of right there, because the Astra Militarum itself...
I mean, you can only talk so much about a branch of the military, especially when they're the baseline soldiers of the military. Think about, I mean...
Well, we did kind of go into the equipment But
yeah, I guess we should talk about the style because I mean every army has its own style, and this one's like modern military World War II-esque, right?
Well, kind of. So like depends on like how liked the Guardsman regiment is, because there are groups that are like so poorly equipped.
That's right. We talked about that. Yeah,
that like
supplied.
they just don't have anything. They have to like beg, borrow, and
they're
steal.
Like we are riding
everything.
the local
So
flora and fauna as mounts.
They'd be the lucky ones to actually get a full rifle. That's
Yeah,
working.
so like there's like two main rifles that are used within the Imperial Guardsmen. There's the las rifle and the autogun. And the autogun is your run-of-the-mill slug thrower.
Oof.
And like there are some chapters who only get slug throwers.
Yeah, they're like,
But
good luck.
that's also good because a las gun is temperamental depending on the weather. Because you
I
can't
forgot about
drag
that.
them into a high cold environment because it will actually drain the packs.
Yeah.
Because the cold will actually start messing with the electrical.
Which makes sense.
So a good
yeah.
oiled slug thrower is going to perform better in a cold environment than a las gun. But their equipment is
inaccurate.
Usually Imperial Guardsman gets equipped with a flak helmet, flak armor, a rifle, a few grenades, and a knife. And those are their equipment. And usually the knife acts as some form of bayonet.
Yeah, and their tanks definitely look like stuff from
And-
World War II.
Well, yeah, that's the tank crews. And the Imperial Guardsmen, depending on the Guardsman group, they can either get a few years of training, like the Cadians, who one of the highest goals of the Cadian people is to become a soldier.
Right,
So
of
they
course.
spend their
It's the greatest
entire lives training as guardsmen.
Because it's such a high honor to actually be
It's because
a
they're
Cadian.
a fortress planet. That's what they are.
They're just
They're
like
meant
the
to guard the
Death
rift. So they spend their entire lives training, literally. Like from the moment they have the
They're the
cognitive
Roman Empire.
ability to like point and shoot a gun and take it apart. They are drafted into schools of military, and they actually have mock battles between these schools to teach kids trench warfare, artillery, and all that stuff. And then they become what they are colloquially known as white shields, which are new soldiers. They're usually ones who are just out of the academy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they're also the ones who take over the protection of the planet, because they're not
only
sent out.
reinforcements are your own
Because
children.
they go through like the PDF into the Imperial Guardsmen, don't
Yeah,
they?
well, it's the same for the
it's-
guards.
Okay.
For the Cadians, is their PDF is their guard, because
yeah,
at
listen.
any
Okay.
point,
Listen to this. In the Fall of the Cadia page on the book, it says Ursula Creed is her father's daughter in many respects, a hardened general, physically imposing, blah 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 blah. I mean, literally, it's like right there in the like lore snippets on the first couple pages
Yeah.
of their book. They're like Cadia was being defended by the children of
well,
their
actually,
ancestors.
he fought during the fall, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, interesting. Okay, there you go.
But yeah, no, like for
It's
the
everywhere.
Cadians, they are they're all about war.
Yeah.
Like that, because they're the fortress world. They guard the Eye of Terra. That's like
At
their
least
entire
they
point.
used
So
to.
their entire thing is war.
Yo, so where's the new Cadia? Is that
It is
just
like
the
a
next
few
planet
light
over?
year. It's an uninhabited.
Still within
planet.
the same nexus, isn't it?
Kind of. It goes into the book Fall of Cadia, because a group of them actually ends up escaping and finding a new planet, and they land there. And since it's an uninhabited planet, they are like, "This is New Cadia."
They're like, "Welcome home, bitches."
Pretty much.
First planet we
Welcome
hit
to home
is the
within the
planet we
realm.
stay.
So yeah, but basically, your Imperial Guardsmen is just going to be your lonely human. Like a lot of times, depending on the
You and
regiment,
me,
they're
brother.
either going to get some of the best training in the world, or they're going to get some like very
Or
subpar.
they're farmers with pitchforks.
Basically, and a lot of them
They'll
actually
get a lot from the hive
actively
cities too.
Well, depends on the group, because like the Necromunda spiders, they get their people from Necromunda, the Hive world, and the Hive city.
So
It all just depends.
All cultural based.
Yeah,
There is no mixing and match except on like rare occasions where they're probably born on like spaceships and shit like that.
But that's usually other ones who. So they every once in a while they'll go back to their home planet and they will issue a regimental formation. And they will get a bunch of people to
I think that's what
usually either with asking or taking, because like you don't really have a choice sometimes. You're either going to be Imperial Guardsman or you're going to be forced as an Imperial Guardsman.
Right. That's just to provide all the numbers.
Pretty much. And then so a new regiment will be built, of usually young people with a few older officers who know what the hell is going on and who could train them. And then they give them like some like subpar training in the beginning, and then they all get on their ship, and then they fuck off. And they will continue their training on the ship, you know, how to fire your rifle, how to build, how to fix your rifle, and everything. And then a lot of times as soon as they leave that planet, they're never seeing that planet again. It's only very rare if they actually get a chance to go back to their home planet. So this secession generations
to go back for their home planet, it would just be going back to whatever they were doing too.
Well, kind of depends whether that job still exists or not. So,
because it's not like a celebratory, hey, you had your time. No,
pretty
it's
much
just like, thanks for fighting in the military. Now,
even then, they're like kind of just like, well, you fought. Yeah. Here's your stipend.
Congratulations, humanity lives another day.
But a lot of times, secession of generations will pass. By then, some Imperial Guardsmen regiments will never see their home world ever again, and they will continue to go to battle to battle to battle. And their children will be born on these ships or on planet, and they will have no roots or connection to their original planet. So it gets to a certain point where sometimes Imperial Guardsmen regiments, and after all the original people have died and their children have taken over, will have only the vague cultural representations of their parents of what they taught them. So it would be a bit of a culture shock for somebody who grew up and was raised on a ship, basically, to go back to Necromunda and Bob's your uncle, now you live in a hive world. It would freak them out because they wouldn't be used to it.
Right.
So that's how the Imperial Guardsmen kind of bank
one of these man-made horrors beyond comprehension, and they're like a fucking city, bro.
Pretty much.
Welcome to GeneCo.
It's like it's like taking an agri-world dude who got hired into the Imperial Guardsmen, and he managed to make it to his old age, and he got dropped off on a hive world. He wouldn't know what to do. Yeah. He would have probably fought in a hive world before, but he's never lived in a hive world. Yeah. So he would be out of his...
for it, and
he'd be like, what are all these foreign cultures?
Pretty much. And like that's pretty much how the Imperial Guardsmen work, is like they like kind of hope and bank on them banging each other for more soldiers.
Yeah, definitely.
So they wouldn't have to stop constantly and send for their home world to send people. They are kind of banking to be like, hopefully they'll have relationships and they'll have babies, and then they'll train those babies to be Imperial Guardsmen. A good example of that is the Gaunt's Ghost series, because there are a few of them who have had relationships and had children who grew those children into the Imperial Guardsman life. Yancey and Creed, no, that's not his name. I don't remember the dude's name, but the baby Yancey, she grew up in the Imperial Guard. So did her brother, and her brother ends up actually joining one of the regiments because he grew up around them. Okay. So they're kind of always banking on these people to have children,
they use
and then
these family ties, these banners,
familial
as
ties.
like a way to motivate them to fight. Because if they don't have these things to fight for, then all they have is God,
fight for
which
the
is
Emperor,
almost
you
enough.
fight for nothing.
Yeah, it's almost enough.
So yeah, that's pretty much like how it is, and like
it's a very good psychological way to get your people personally invested in the conflict.
Well, yeah, and it also helps the fact that like the Imperial Guardsmen, since they're just like run-of-the-mill humans, they're from birth, basically, even before they join the Imperial Guard, are told the Emperor is this, blah blah blah, a whore, the mutant, burn the witch, stuff like that. So they're from an early age
very
being
Old
told,
Testament,
like.
Because they don't even know who Chaos or anything is as a normal human.
Well, yeah.
And then even like when fighting out and about in all the planets, once they figure out what this is, a lot of the times they get addressed and killed too, don't they?
No. A lot of Imperial Guardsmen regiments know what chaos is. And they hate it. They're like, fucking, we've fought them enough. It would be so weird not to know what you're fighting. So they know about chaos. It's just like your base human who is toiling away.
Oh, I was just comparing like the difference between the actual Imperial Guardsman and then your day-to-day human.
Well, yeah, but they know about chaos in like the most vaguest of sense because like mutant, witch, all that stuff are warp corruption in a sense, quote unquote. So
would you say that most people know like how lucky they are to be alive, or is it pretty like? Guys, see, that's right. That's an interesting thing to think about,
because they do try and keep everything censored because they don't want massive like worldwide panic.
Right, but like
to happen
on the base level,
out,
they're
oh
like everybody has a friend / family member who's disappeared to the guardsmen and never came home, or to like other mysterious.
A lot of times they're like super prideful that their child got picked for the guard.
Because it's
a way to get out.
It is a way to get out, and they view it as an essential better life than what's going on the home planet.
God, that
so
sucks.
Like they specifically like the Imperial Guard hive world specifically because they have so many people, and they always take from the lower caste of people.
Of course, you have to.
And like a lot of these lower caste people, they do they will like send money home and everything, and like make sure that their parents are taken care of in a sense, or at least have extra money
no matter what.
That's good. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Pretty much, like like most of the Imperial citizens are like are from childbirth, basically being like, "Hey, Emperor is all of this. It serve your Emperor, serve your community in a sense. Abhor the mutant, all that stuff." So like a lot of times,
you're human, he's human. Yeah, following his footsteps
or the Brotherhood.
Pretty much, they're very like but with a twinge of religious fascism,
which
yeah.
So yeah, pretty much like a lot of times people will view it two ways. Either it's a like, woo, I can get the hell out of this hellhole. To no, I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna die if I don't.
I'll either
get die either way, so might as well die with a gun in your hand.
Pretty much.
Face on the guy who's shooting you.
Because either way, well, you're gonna get shot or maimed by the dude in front of you, or if you turn around, you're gonna get shot by the Commissar standing behind you. So who would you rather face? Right. Knowing that your buddy next to you could get a little further by killing the enemy, or fucking your brother over by getting killed by the Commissar.
Tyranids would definitely make me think about ganging up on the Commissar if I could just convince like 20 other dudes.
Oh, it happens.
Oh yeah.
We'd be fighting Tyranids and I'd be like, listen guys, I know they think that we can win this, but I've seen it birth babies that immediately eat my friends.
Well, it's happened. There's been like a few times that like...
For anybody that doesn't know, so we've mentioned Tyranids like a few times here. Tyranids are basically giant bug-like creatures.
Imagine a praying mantis, but then like 7 times more horrible and the size of a school bus.
And has about the strength of the Hulk at minimum.
Oh, and they can psychically deaden you.
Well, they're controlled by a giant thing called the hive mind, but we will actually get into a Tyranid episode at one point. But that's just a basic. Horrible. Hey, this is what they are.
Anyways, I think that's all I've got for the Astra Militarum.
Yeah, I mean we've managed, even though we started out a bit rocky, but I believe that we've managed to cover all the goals. And if you have any more questions, feel free to email us at
Hammering the Point Podcast at gmail.com.
Thanks.
And yeah, our next episode, we're going to be talking about my boys. I can't wait to talk about my boys. It's going to be some good stuff.
Well, who are the two guys that are the same? Mork and Bork?
Mork and
Gork.
Mork and Fork and
Gork
Dork?
and Mork.
Mork and
Priest,
Fork?
I will name you.
I've been thinking about that one since like yesterday.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.